Shri Krishna, Shri Krishna, Shri Krishna, Shri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. There are many approaches to the reality, and the variety of texts are available to know the truth. The idea being, human mind gets bored to the same thing again and again. Anything, if you are exposed to the same thing for a longer period of time, you lose interest. That is why the people can't continue for a longer period with the same partner. They get bored. The same thing is about the truth. If you suppose keep on reading only one book, Gita, nothing else, by maybe another 5 years, you by heart it, and I know what it is. Before you start reading, you know what it is. And therefore, a variety is provided. And the original source of knowledge is called as Veda or the Upanishad. This is called a Shruti Grantha, the ultimate authority in truth. Then the second comes the Smriti Grantha. There are 18 of them, which are told by the great saints and sages in the form of stories. Then there are Puranas, and then there are words written by the wise people. All this thing is the source of knowledge. And this variety is essential for us to discover every day a different dimension of the reality. See? If we do not think every day a different approach to the truth, our intellect becomes rusted. And rusted intellect is not good for knowing the truth. It must be sharp and bright. And therefore, we take many texts. And this time, as I was told by Gaurangji, that I have to talk on Yoga Vasishta. I said, yes, boss, ready. Yoga Vasishta is a text which is a totally different kind than the usual text. You all have heard Bhagavad Gita to some extent. In Gita, the student is confused. On the battlefield, that time the knowledge was given. The teacher was God himself, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and the student was on the battlefield to fight the war. At that junction, he got confused, and to him the knowledge was given. But when we come to Yoga Vasishta, you can take 2 chairs, sir. It will be convenient. Is okay? So, if you take Yoga Vasishta, it is a totally different story. The story is, here the teacher is Vasishta Muni Rishi, who belonged to the dynasty of the Raghuvamsha or Lord Rama. And Lord Rama was a very nice young prince in his teenage. So one day he asked his father, Dasharath, that Dad, I want to go and move around the country and see the places. This is one of the most important spiritual practice. One must move in many holy places, watch the world, see the world, go through the experiences and learn from the experiences. Real spiritual practice begins when we are ready to learn from our experiences of life. If we don't learn, even God cannot teach us. In the transfer of knowledge, it is the disciple who is important and not the guru. Guru is secondary. So, Bhagwan Ram went around and he came back After he came back, he became totally withdrawn, not talking to anybody, not taking food properly. This was his situation. That time he was 15 years of age. And that very time, a great saint called as Vishwamitra, he came to the king and asked for his son. Kindly give me your sons, Rama and Lakshmana, to protect, because there are many Rakshasas who are coming and destroying my yagya. So please give me. So the father, Dasharatha, he said, no, no, you can't. They are just young, not even completed their teenage. How can we give them? So Vasishtha says, this is wrong. You are a king. If you don't stand to your words, who will stand? You must respect your own words in life if you want to achieve something. And with great difficulty, so okay. And Bhagwan Rama was called in the court. And when Bhagwan Rama comes, first the servant comes and tells, see, we don't know what happened. He has stopped taking food properly. He has become emaciated. He doesn't want to talk to somebody. He is totally withdrawn. We don't know what happened to him. So in that pathetic condition, Rama comes, salutes his father and all the elders and sits on the floor. And there he asked the question. And that formed the first chapter of this Yoga Vasishtha, wherein he talks the highest level of dispassion. There are two things. One is dispassion and second is depression. Both in dispassion and depression, one gets withdrawn from the world. In depression also, you are not interested in anything. I am not borrowing oneself inside. In dispassion also, one is not interested in this world. It's a hairline difference. Now the question is, how do we know whether dispassion or depression? Dispassion is born out of wisdom and inquiry. Depression is born out of frustration. Depression is unhealthy condition. Dispassion is the healthy condition of mind. So when Rama came, he started speaking about the life in a most dispassionate tone. And what is it all about? I don't know. I feel that I should end my life. I have no interest in anything. Tell me, what should I do? And in the first chapter, very exhaustively, he describes the futility of human existence in this world. What have we achieved? We were born because of somebody's passions. We grow because the earth is running around the sun. We become old and one day we die. Is this life? What life for? Whence we are, who we are, what for we are. He becomes totally dispassionate, and therefore he says, I don't think there is anything worth living. I want to discard the body. Now to such a dispassionate student, Rama, Vasishtha ji gives the instruction. So, Yoga Vasishtha is a text like going to a gym, not going to a hospital. In hospital, normally the unhealthy people go. In the gym, the healthy people go. Health of the mind is dispassion. Disease of the mind is depression. So, when Rama thus said, and then Vasishtha ji, his guru, he starts giving him instructions. And in that instruction, he gives many parts, and ultimately he comes in the third, the Moksha Dwarapalakaha, the guardians of the liberation. The kingdom of God, whatever words are used, or liberation or moksha. It is said there, Moksha Dware Dwarapala Chatvara Parikirtita Shamo Vichara Santosha Chaturtha Sadhu Sangama. The gatekeepers of the heavens. Heaven is a very cheap word when you understand liberation. Heaven is the place where you go and come back. But liberation is the one wherein you never go and never come back. You discover you are never bound. That is liberation. So there are four gatekeepers. One is Shama, Vichara, Santosha and Sadhu Sangama. Shama is we are at peace with ourselves under all conditions. Simple. Not dependent on anything in this universe. A person who is at peace with himself or herself alone is at peace with the whole world. Normally we react. No reaction. Reactions happen in two ways. When the miseries come, we become miserable. We want to avoid miseries, run away, struggle. Or when the comforts come, we get attached to the comforts and we want to hug on, hold on to the comforts. When disturbances and comforts are equal, they no more create any impact on us, then equanimity is attained. That is the first step. See, friends, Shamaha, fully master of the mind. The mind is no more holding us. Second is Vichara. Vichara is inquiry. Normally people when they come and ask questions, that is why I very rarely entertain question answer sessions. Because most of the time they are not questions, they are complaints. See, my mind is very disturbed, what should I do? No, you know your mind, what can I do? You suffer. No, please tell why the mind is disturbed. See, don't complain. Vichara is inquiry. Find out. See? And therefore, Vichara tikshnata metyadhi pashyati parampadam dirgha samsara rogasya vicharo hi mahoshadam. When you just start inquiry, you will come to know that proper understanding of life is the only way to get out of the problems of life. We must know completely. And this is done through vichara. Now, what is the kind of inquiry? Koham kasya samsaraha ityapadyapi dhimatam chintaniyam prayatnena sampratikar atmana koham kathamayam doshaha samsarakya upagataha nyayenaiva paramarsho vichara iti katyate. Vichara includes four things. First of all, who am I? When I say I am hungry, here I means the prana, the life. When I say I am old, here I means the body. When I say I am intelligent, I mean the intellect. When I say I am miserable, I means the mind. When I say I am a husband, I mean a fictitious personality. Which I? We are not one. We are a crowd inside. So find out who is this I. First inquiry. Then the second inquiry is about this world. Normally the common statement comes, oh, this world is too much. Which world is too much? The five great elements, the sense organs. Where is the problem? See? So we talk about the world, but what is the world we don't understand. Second inquiry about the world. Now the third inquiry about God, the most confused thing. We push the God beyond the clouds. We all have flown by air, gone above the clouds. We have never seen God there. But we have pushed the God far above the clouds. So who is this God? And the fourth and the most important thing is, what is spiritual practice? These are three things I'll tell you, they're very basic and very important. If you get through them, then subsequent things become easy. Our life has three components. One component is the component of matter. Like here we are in this beautiful tent, everything is so nice, clean, calm, quiet. This gross world is one component of our life. Second component is our experiences in this world. We are happy, we are miserable, we want to fulfill our desires. I want this, I want that, but I can't afford, how can I get it? Let me purchase a lottery ticket and pray to the Lord. Oh Lord, let my lottery come so that I can get a beautiful car without any efforts. Let me live only on the money given by the government. I don't want to work at all. Freebies. Second type. And the third one is the I. Who is this I? Who is struggling in this world? So those who are lost in this material world, they spend their whole life only in two areas. One area is called as being goody-goody in this world. You should help others, you should not hurt others, you should serve others. If you do good, you will go to heaven. If you do bad, you will go to hell. Goody, 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 goody. And this is how the NGOs are born. All NGOs are non-godly organizations. They are meant only for collecting funds so that their things are comfortably met with. So they spend their whole life on this world and they talk about saving the world. So many saviors have come in this world. All the saviors were shaved off. The world is as it is. Nothing has changed in this world. This world has always been like this. So this is one part, those who give importance to this world as real. The second thing, such people give importance to the body. For them, whole life is lived for the body, by the body, on everybody. Such people's whole life is spent only in yoga, yoga, yoga. And there are such a variety of yoga. And what is the yoga? Only twisting the body and never straightening the mind. Because they are living at the body level. They don't want to go beyond the body level. See, friends. Therefore, this is one area of our life. Spending whole life in the world for the sake of the body. And here we fail because our desires are unlimited. So, the second thing is, our struggle in life is to fulfill our desires so that we get what we want. But when we don't get, then we go to the temple and pray to the Lord. Oh Lord, kindly fulfill my desire. You have got lot of power. I have no power. Please fulfill my desire. Or such people, they talk of invocation of the Kundalini. Both the things. Invocation of God's grace or invocation of the Kundalini Shakti are meant for fulfilling one's desire, nothing else. Have we ever gone to the temple only to tell God, oh Lord, I love you? No. Oh God, kindly note down list. Longer the list, longer is the namaskar. So, such people spend in devotion only to fulfill the desire. For them, God is the means and the worldly things is the goal. It should be the other way around. But they go to the temple to seek the things in this world. Then the second thing, this invocation of the Kundalini. So that all my potentiality can be invoked. And then I can curse somebody, I can bless somebody. And the Siddha Purushas, then they tell something and it happens. Because they invoke that infinite energy in them. They are also at the second level of life. Now the third is the Adhyatmic, the spiritual. Has this world existence without me? If I is not there, my wife has no existence. If I is not there, my country has no existence. If I is not there, my problems have no existence. Everything is existing in this I. In our deep sleep experience, where there is no I, who are we? Man or woman? Where are we? In UK or USA? What are we? Healthy or unhealthy? Rich or poor? Whence are we? 2016 or 1942? everything disappears. This I, who is holding on to the whole universe, who is this I? When this inquiry about I is kindled, then alone we have entered the spiritual path. It is for this purpose, vichara kartavyaha, one has to inquire, therefore, koham, who am I? Can I be the body? This body is created by our parents. We are not created the body. We may claim, I am a self-made man, but body is not created by us. Our body never listens to us. Who wants to fall ill? But the body falls ill. So the body is not created by us, doesn't listen to us, and yet I am the body. What logic, what wisdom it is. And with this basic error, the whole life is lived. And after this basic error, subsequent problems are born. After I accept myself to be body, then alone mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, in-laws, outlaws, all of them are born. See, friends. And who are miserable? These guys who do not exist. See, friends. Can we separate the man from the husband? Can the husband exist without the man? Can the man exist without becoming a husband? Find out. Who is the reality? Man is never miserable. Husband is never happy. And who is husband? Who doesn't exist. And our whole life is spent only, I want to make my wife happy. God has failed, friends. Don't try that. See, friends, our whole approach to the life is so erroneous. Therefore, when we thus inquire, then we will see that there is never any problem which demands any solution. It is only because of the error of judgment. And the third is santosha. Santosha is contentment. Contentment is the highest wealth in life. When we are content, we are at peace. Whatever is needed for our growth, that alone comes in our life. This is the fundamental rule. See, friends, you see the vegetations. Wherever, whatever kind of vegetation grows naturally, there only it is born. In the same manner, we are placed in this world exactly where we can grow spiritually. Changing the places and the situations is not the way to grow spiritually. So, if we remain content, then the mind is not agitated, at peace. Such a contentful mind alone can think something higher. Otherwise, the mind will be only talking about the worldly thing. I want this, I want that, etc. In Patanjali Yoga Darshan, Santosha is glorified, that a person who has got Santosha, Santoshad Anuttama Sukhalabhaha, where it is said, Santosh, contentment, gives you unparalleled bliss. You just don't want anything to change. Everything is perfect. Start with this rule. Everything is good. Everything is fine. Mind will remain at peace. Such a peaceful mind, without going to sleep, is able to inquire, do the vichara. And the last one is sadhu sangamaha. Sadhu sangama is satsanga. One has to spend time on the satsanga, listening to something higher in life. See, friends, 4 things. Sadhu Sangama is living with the teacher, listening to the satsanga. This is the first step on the spiritual path. Whether you go to temple or church, secondary. Whether you take baths or not, secondary. Whether you eat vegetarian, non-vegetarian, secondary. Whether you do the japa or not, secondary. Whether you do yoga or not, never mind. But the first and the most important thing is satsanga. When we come to satsang, what happens? Our wrong notions are corrected. Our notion is that I am the body, it is corrected. Our notion is the world is other than me, it is corrected. Our notion that God is above the clouds, it is corrected. Our notion that spirituality means getting something is corrected. Spiritual life is not getting something, but discovering. When you discover, it is already existing. Scientific discovery. The nature's laws are already there. Newton has not created law of gravity. It's already there. He has discovered it. In the same manner, we don't have to become divine. We have to discover our divine nature. Therefore, the real spiritual life is not getting anything, but discovering the truth that we are. It is this way the four gatekeepers of or the guardians of the heaven or the moksha were told. Now, as a result of this, the third chapter ended, and thereafter the teacher now starts telling in the third chapter exhaustively Utpatti Krama about the creation, bondage and liberation. Up to here, I have already presented it on the YouTube. So I was told very strictly by our Gaurangji, Swamiji, don't start from the first chapter. I have already read it, heard it. Now the same thing, if you'll talk, I'll sleep. I said, anyway, you sleep always. Now the third chapter begins, Bandasya tavad rupaptvam kathaya katyamanam idam shrunu tata swarupam mokshasya jnasasi tvam asamshayam. My dear Rama, I shall now tell you what is the meaning of bondage. We talk about bondage. What is the meaning of bondage? Are we bound? We are free. We go anywhere we like. We drink whatever we like. Eat we whatever. Who is bound? See? Before we enter the satsanga, we never knew that we are bound. That is the beauty of this bondage. Although we are in bondage, we don't know we are in bondage. Therefore, bandasya tavad rupam. What is the meaning of bondage? I shall tell you. And so also, mokshasya tata swarupam came. And so also, what is the meaning of liberation? See, there is something called as freedom and licentiousness. We have freedom to drive the car on the road, but that freedom is guarded freedom. You cannot drive the way we want. It has to be according to the traffic rules. In the same manner, when we talk about freedom, our understanding of freedom is basically only licentiousness. Whatever I feel like doing, I should be allowed to do, then I am free. Then it is being animal, it is not being free human being. See, friends, there was one girl, many years before it happened, and this girl, she was studying for her masters. So naturally, she was not a small one, she must be about 22, 23. And she was studying in the same college where her father was a professor. So a group of students came, called her, because somebody got a scholarship, so they wanted to enjoy, have a party. So this group came and they called her. So the father professor who was there in the porch, he told, oh, she has already gone ahead. And they all went. And the girl was inside the house. She became so angry. Dad, you told lies. Why did you tell lies? He told very clearly, look here. Till you are in my house, you have to follow my rules. Once you go out of the house, do whatever you like. I will not come in your way. Then he told, I give you freedom up to a particular limit, not beyond that. And that is my decision. You have no right on it. So she became frustrated, went to her room, and those days there were no emails, only snail mails were there. So she wrote me a letter about 15-20 questions. And one question was this, that I'll tell you. She wrote, according to our culture, tradition, Hinduism, ladies are always under the bondage of man. That was the first statement. Second thing, for example, during the childhood before marriage, it is the father, bracket, man, bold, italics, underline, who controls the life of a girl. Then after marriage, it is the husband, again after husband in the bracket, man, bold, italics, inverted commas, underline. And in the old age, it is the son with whom the lady has to say, stay. And therefore, son, again, man. Oh, why our life is always in bondage? We want freedom. So I wrote her, I said, look here, you want freedom from whom? From the people around? Or you want freedom from your mind? Our understanding of freedom is, whatever I feel like doing, if I am allowed to do, then I am free. This is like becoming or being an animal. See, friends, the dignity of human being is not being the slave to the mind. The mind must behave the way we want. See, friends, because we don't understand the difference between the licentiousness and freedom, the whole world is in this mess. Whatever I feel like doing, I should do. Is it not like the animals? Animals don't have culture, they don't have tradition, they don't have any society. They are just living the life. There is no relationship. See, friends. Therefore, what is the bondage and what is the moksha? This I shall tell you. Now he says, first, what is the bondage? Drashtuhu drishyasya sattahi bandha vityabhidhiyate drashta drishyavashat baddhaha drishya bhavo vimuchyate. The first thing, wherever there is a sense of seer and the seen, and the seer is under the influence of the seen, that experience is called as bondage. See? I see something, oh, this is a very good camera. Very good, go ahead. No, 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 I must buy it. If I don't get it, then what is the life for? And in this manner, our life begins. We become slave to the worldly things. And the net result of our life, if we watch within, if we have to define ourselves, who am I? What will I say? I am a bundle of so many past possessions and relations. Try to talk about you without reference of your possessions and relations. Try to talk. Nothing to talk. Whenever we talk to others, we only talk about our past possessions and relations. I was born there, I did like this thing, I had so many things, then I left it, and then I went here and then did this thing, then I got married, then I got separated, then I had children, then they left me. Wow, 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 continuous. And you come in the utter present, and when you come in utter present, then nothing to talk. Think. Observe this. Whenever we talk to others, it is only past. And that past becomes our personality. Therefore, longer the past, stronger the personality. Stronger the personality, easy to get hurt. Easy to get hurt is a strong ego. And stronger the ego, more miserable we are. Small kids, their past is hardly 5 years, 4 years. Hardly any possessions and relations. Therefore, hardly any ego. Therefore, you scold them for 2 minutes, they are angry, after that they forget, and then again come and hug you, mom. Forget everything. Elderly person, you say one thing, do you remember what you said that day? When? 60 years before. Man, forget it. See, friends, when the worldly objects are influencing us in the form of possessions and relations. We carry the bundle of that on our head. Can you imagine Hercules with a smile on the face, keeping the globe? No, it's only the smiling Buddha can smile. Not the Hercules. He's carrying the whole globe on his head. While coming, I was telling to Jill, the cars were going so fast. 3 hours we were driving. What came in my mind? I said, look here. Cars are driven neither by the petrol nor by the engine. Cars are driven by the horsepower. And find out where is the horsepower. There is neither horse nor power. Call it horsepower. In the same manner, we are all constantly running, going here, going there. By what? By the donkey power. And who is this I who is running around this world? I want to do this, I want to go here, I want to go there. Who is this I? See, friends, this is called as bondage. Therefore, when we give a status of reality to this world and we consider ourselves to be incomplete, these two conditions lead to a birth of desires. And when we drop these two things, no sense of otherness and no sense of incompleteness, no desire. No desire, no efforts, all bliss, all happiness. Don't trust me. Is it not our experience in the deep sleep? We have no sense of otherness. And we have no sense of incompleteness. Therefore, in the deep sleep, we have no desires. And when there is no desire, there is no struggle. When there is no struggle, there is all happiness. And when there is happiness, there is noise. And therefore, people in deep sleep, they create noise. That's why they call it sound sleep. That sound of snoring is the siren of happiness. Krrr, krrr. Where is the hurry? See, friends, discover this. See? Therefore, till such time we give importance to this world as very real, there cannot be freedom. We will be going from one place to another place in search of what we don't know. We are struggling constantly. Drashtu drashtasya sattahi bandha ityavidhiyate. Whenever we have recognized something as illusion, we enjoy that, but we don't desire it. Like the rainbow. We see how beautiful it is. But we never think, let me cut a piece and take home and show to my kids. No. See, friends, exactly the same way. Be in this world. Enjoy every moment of your life without having an attitude of possessing anything. Possessiveness is the bondage. Relations are the bondage. See, friends. And then when we don't understand what is the relation, then we imagine, if I am miserable because I am married to him or her, then I will divorce. So when you divorce, what exactly has happened? He and that man both are equally available. Nobody has died. And yet, there is imagination. If I divorce, I will be happy. Friends, is only a mental block. Nothing. There is neither wife nor husband. But these become so real for us. When we sleep in deep sleep, that time we are nobody. Neither husband, wife, brother, father, mother, sister. We are all happy. In the same manner, when we live in this world, rather than changing the places, the people and everything around, just come to realize this. This is only a way of life we have to go through. That's it. Tolerate each other and be happy. Therefore, what is bondage? Drashtu drasya sattahi drashya bandha ityavidhiyate. Drashta drishyavashat baddhaha. And why the seer, the experiencer is bound? Because Drishyavashar, he has been overpowered by the worldly objects. I'll tell you something very subtle, be attentive. One of my friend in Delhi, he came to meet me. He is a police officer and he had no time. He said, Swamiji, I just came for 10 minutes to see you. I had to go. And he's a very good student of Vedanta. He said, give me some instruction which will keep me busy for the whole year till I see you next year. So I was sitting in my chair and he was standing near the switch at night, 9, 10 o'clock. I told him, switch off the light. He switched off. He said, what do you see now? He said, I see nothing, only darkness. Very good. Second step, switch on the light. He switched on the light. I said, now what do you see? He said, I see you, I see the furniture, I see your cot, I see your laptop, I see the other chairs, I see your shoes. I said, keep on talking. He said, I see the wall, the fan, the AC. I said, more? That's all. I said, I didn't see this. I saw the light. See? When the light switch on, what comes first? The light, then the objects. But our attention is so much on the objects that we forget the light. In the same manner, when we wake up in the morning, our attention, being on the life that we are, goes on the worldly objects. And with that, our whole life is lived only for the worldly things. That's all. Then I told him, go further, drop the light. The electrical energy expressing through the bulb as light is the reality. In the same manner, drop the worldly objects, come to the sense organs. Drop the sense organs, come to the mind. Drop the mind, come to the conscious reality that you are. To drop, we don't have to do anything. The importance that we have given to the worldly objects, that importance we have to drop. We live very much in the same world, but now the world is no more an issue for us. Thus, remaining in the world but not getting influenced by the world is liberation. We don't have to wait for the posthumous recognition of God realization. Those who tell us that after death you will go to heaven or you will go to hell, those people have neither seen the heaven nor the hell. See, friends, there is nothing like heaven and hell. If you are happy, you are in the heaven. If you are miserable, you create hell. See, friends. Therefore, bondage is under the influence of the objective world. Liberation is freedom from the influence of the objective world. Drashta drishyavashad baddhaha drishya bhavi vimuchyate. And when the presence or absence of the things and beings is never an issue, you are at peace with yourself. Friends, when we interact in the world, where is our attention? Three options are there. Attention is on the world, so we will be running away from ourselves and try to improve the world. World can never be improved. This world has always been like this. There is nothing new. Same thing. Like, many people talk about terrorism and all that. I said, why don't you look at a positive aspect of everything in life? Then you are walking spiritual path. In everything there is a positive aspect. Look at it. He said, what is the positive aspect in terrorism? I said, see how many people got a security job. Today the security is the biggest industry, isn't it? Remove the terrorism, no security, these people will become unemployed. It's good they are creating. The thieves, they are maintaining the police department at their risk of their own life. See, friends. Now, what we see, what is happening today is so bad. During the time of our Mr. Hitler, how many people he killed? Is it comparable even to this? See, friends, this world has always been like this. Holy wars. How many people were killed? This has always happened like that. There's nothing new. Drought, then volcanoes, then tsunamis. This is a part of life. Good people, bad people. We are in this world for our evolution. It is something like we go to the school, in the classroom the teacher is teaching us. Will we get up in between and tell the teacher, Madam, she has not understood? In the classroom, we are concerned whether we have understood or not, is it not? We are not worried about others, whether others have understood or not. Mind your business. There is one doctor in Bombay. She is an Ayurveda doctor. She does only the pulse thing. A very young one. She must be in her 40s. I revere her. She is out of this world. So simple, ground level. No special treatment to anybody. Let the chief minister come or the prime minister come. No special treatment to anybody. Her place is just like a dirty kind of a slum. There she stays. No mobile phone, no nothing, no car, no nothing. Very simple. And she is so effective. Everything she does. I don't have to tell her anything. One lady was admitted in the hospital for knee replacement. Her husband came to know about this doctor, Ayurvedic doctor. So he withdrew her wife after payment. He said, I'll take payment later back from you. Let me take my wife. She doesn't want to get operated. And this lady, she gave her medicines. And within 2-3 months, she started dancing without replacement of the knees and all that. So effective she is. So one person, a kind of a social worker brand person, he told her that, Mama, why don't we go online and we can have a nice board here, good publicity, so many people will be benefited. She said, take care of your health, don't worry about the world. The world is going right. You don't have to improve the world. Then she said, who is going to come to me for treatment? It is already decided. You cannot bring anybody. So content. Such patients she has taken care of, which no doctor can even think of. So much at peace. And when she takes your pulse, she tells, in your right kidney there is infection. Get a scan and show it and come to me. She enters every organ of your body. Absolutely at peace. If we get something, immediately we think about how we can take a patent and how can we make more money out of it and how we can become rich. No. See, friends, this world has always been like this. Don't worry about the world. We have not created the world. Why we should worry about the world? Take care of yourself. Uddharedatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet. Bhagavad Gita says, we are here in this world for our evolution. We are not here for the evolution of the world. Therefore, drashta drishyavasar baddhaha drishya bhavi vimuchyate. So live in this world, live through, to know that you have to get out of this world. That's it. Further, jagatvam aham ityadi mithyatma drisyamuchyate yavadeta sambhavati tavan moksho na vidyate. Now what is the meaning of the drishya, the objective world? Objective world is defined. World, you and I, these three principles together constitute world. See? Let us take a little bit of grammar. I is first person singular. Thou is second person singular. He or she or it is third person singular. When we make the plural of the third person, he, she or it becomes they. And that continues to be the third person. When we make the plural of thou, it becomes you. And you continues to be the second person. But when it comes to the first person singular, what is the plural of first person singular? No plural. No, you don't know English. We. Friends, we includes first person, second person, third person. When we say we all are enjoying the hospitality of Gaurangji, so we means I, you, he, she. So it is not plural. It is all inclusive. And it is no more first person. It is no more second person. It is no more third person. It is beyond persons. Think. Therefore, the whole world begins only from this I. When I say it should happen. See? I want this way. I want that way. If you don't listen, I'll teach you a lesson. The whole world is nothing but only this. See? World, aham and tvam. And see the beauty further. These third person and second person, they are dependent on first person. I is talking to you about him. 3. So this I is first person, you is second person, him is third person. If I is not there, you doesn't exist, he doesn't exist. Think. So where is this whole world? In this I. So Jagat, the world, you and I is the world. But when I see myself, including you, the world disappears. Like in deep sleep, everything is included in I. There is nothing separate from me. There is nothing other than me. And therefore, all happiness. When this world is manifest, 3 things happen. Number 1, desire. Number 2, anger. Number 3, fear. Desire, anger and fear. These 3 things put together is the world. If no desire, no anger. If no otherness, no fear. Fear comes only by the sense of otherness. Once there was a man, a group of people rather, they went for hiking in a forest, in the mountain. And one of them got lost. It became evening and he didn't know which direction to go. So he thought best way is to pitch the tent and become secure and sleep. Don't know, wild animals may come and all that. So he pitched his tent, small one, and got inside. And with the fear, he was not able to sleep. But afterwards, he was so tired, he slept. And then a tiger came. So this fellow who was tired and sleeping, he was snoring away. And the tiger saw there is somebody over here, and the tiger ran away. Because for the tiger, there was someone else. For this man, there was none else. Wherever there is a sense of otherness, there is desire, anger, and fear. And this is samsara. This is world. See, friends. Then how to take this world? Don't take this world too seriously. Don't take your life also seriously. Nobody has gone away from this world alive. Don't take it seriously. But we take the life so seriously. One of the questions asked to Yudhishthira in Mahabharata, it comes, what is the most wonderful thing in the whole world? So Yudhishthira answers that people go to the cremation ground, put the body on the fire, the body is burnt, but nobody ever thinks that I am also going to die. They again start living their life as if they are here for eternity. This is the wonder of all wonders. See, friends, once we understand this point, you will see you are liberated while alive. You don't have to die to go to heaven. You can be in heaven wherever you are. See, friends. So, Jagatvam Aham Ityadi Mithyatma Drishyam Uchyate. Now, what is Mithyatma? Be attentive. Please come. Sit down. Mithyatma see, when we are identified with the body and the body notion is born, I am this body, that notion is called a Mithyatma, illusory I. Now if you just observe your whole life, our body was born small, then the body started growing, the small body has disappeared, teenage body has come. Then we became teenager, teenage body has gone. Then body became middle age, we become middle aged person, that body has gone. Now find out where those bodies have gone. What is our understanding? We are in the same body. It's not the same body. And our identification, whether you are a child or a teenager or a middle age or old age, you are all and yet none. See? So, when the childhood body has disappeared, we continue to exist. When the teenage body has disappeared, we continue to exist. When the middle-aged body has disappeared, we continue to exist. This old body will disappear, we continue to exist. Who dies? See, friends, we have never died. But this notion that I am the body is just taken. Nobody tells us that you are the body. But yet we keep on holding on to that. And then we want to live long. What will you do living long? What is the purpose? Just live long. For what? I should have a good car. Very good. But for what? Where you have to go? I have to go nowhere. Then why do you want a car? What for long life? Think. And our whole life is lived for the body, by the body, on the body, on everybody. This wrong notion is called as Mithyatma, the illusory I. Now, this wrong notion, I am the body, doesn't end here. It produces next generation. After the body identification happens, thereafter the husband, wife, brother, father, mother, sister, they are born. And these non-existing illusory personalities, they are miserable. Think. Once you get across this point, you will see that nobody is miserable in this world. See? This Mithyatma and Gaunatma, the secondary eyes, who do not exist, they are miserable. How can you help somebody who doesn't exist? It is something like this. One example I'll tell you. Once I was in Himalayas, we had a retreat there, beautiful retreat. And it was a full moon night. Beautiful moon, open sky. And I took my glass of black tea. And along with 3-4 people, we were walking. And I saw the moon reflected in my glass. I said, hey, look here, now I am going to sip the moon directly. Oh, it has not come. Again, I'll try. And when I was just playing fool, my foot dashed to some stone and a glass fell down. So my friend, sorry, we'll get you another glass. I said, no, I'm not interested in glass or the tea. Where is my reflection gone, that moon reflection? Kindly fish it out. Can we do anything to that? Think, friends, in the same manner, mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, friend, enemy, where are they? They are like the reflection of the moon in the waters. And when the water is disturbed, it appears as if reflection is disturbed. But reflection is also not disturbed because it doesn't exist. In the same manner, mother, father, brother, sister, husband, friend, enemy, where are they? Understanding this and thereafter living the life in this understanding is spirituality. Not twisting the body. See, friends, I was in US in one of my lectures. One girl, she gave me her card. So I read the card, I kept it. She said, so how do you like? I said, do you also do yoga? She said, yes. I wrote there, my specialty is yoga under tree. So she said, what do you teach? I said, I teach yoga on the tree. See, all rubbish. Hot yoga, cold yoga, green yoga, yellow yoga. These have nothing to do with the truth. Anything which can be made into industry becomes yoga. Yoga mattresses, yoga pillows, then yoga bricks, yoga, those, what you call, rosaries. This has nothing to do with the truth. Come to know this. Thereafter, play the game of life without any botheration for victory or defeat, just for the sake of playing. Therefore, Jagat Tvam Aham iti mithyatma drishyam uchyate. This is what is called as the drishya or the world. Yavad etat sambhavati, till such time you take this as real. Etat sambhavati, tavan moksho na vidyate. Till then you are not liberated. Friends, be attentive. We do not talk about liberation for I. We are talking liberation from I. Get rid of this I. See? And this can be only by inquiry, understanding. See, friends. And for this, we don't have to do anything. We don't have to go anywhere. Everything is within. Everything is within us. With this knowledge, we live 24/7. Living in this knowledge is living in meditation. Then such a person will not struggle in meditation. Then such a person will be living 24/7 in meditation, whether he is taking food or walking or sleeping or doing anything, his meditation never breaks. He will keep on talking, but the silence is not broken. He will sleep, but his meditation is never lost. He will walk, but his asana is steady. These contradictions reveal the truth in its entirety. Because I is nowhere. This freedom from I is the real freedom. Thereafter, the divine expresses through such a master. When the divinity expresses in its full glory, then a great master is manifested. And such masters do not claim to be great. It is the people who say they are at peace. Whether you call them great or great fools, it makes no difference to them. See, friends, this is how this bondage and liberation is mentioned. Yavadeta sambhavati tavan mokshana vidyate. So till such time, these three things, I versus you versus this world, these three persons, first person, second person, third person, these three persons are valid. The samsara, the moksha is impossible. Will continue to be in the same miserable condition throughout life. Further, we'll take in our next class. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.